There's always a really cool tech choice that is going to impact the meta. Make sure you guys smash the living crap out of that World Gears of Demiurgy. Boy, here we go again. I love every single time that this thing gets to come up in terms of discussion, because there's usually a meta game reason for this thing to be discussed. Now, it is 3 level 5 or higher monsters to make it. This goes in elf notes. So cannot be used link material. This link summon card is unaffected by other monster effects, and you can only use each of the following effects of this card's name once per turn. So during the main phase, if you control this card that was link summoned using 3 monsters that had 3 different types and attributes on your field, you can destroy all other cards on the field. And then if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, except during damage step, you can special summon a World Legacy from the deck. We don't give a crap about that. What we care about here is we've got a 3500 attack towers monster that Elf Note can actually bring out and access because, they've got different synchro lines. It's just whatever they need to be able to do to make this actually seems pretty accessible to me. I like the discussion of actually having a boss monster that you can kind of pivot into if something goes wrong, and that's always kind of what this card's been. It's a card that can provide you with a board wipe that can also give you a safety net of having a mini towers monster to be able to kind of protect your field. And that's about as good as it's actually going to get, honestly. So give it up for every time this card actually comes into play, because that is absolutely what we want to see. We want this card to continue to do exactly just that. Now, we had a tech sighting in the side deck of Synchro Control. Now, Synchro Control is a very interesting older card. Activate only if you have no synchro monsters on your side of the field or in your graveyard. Okay, so this would basically be taking control of something in the Cool Tune matchup, right? You pay 1,000 to select one face-up synchro monster your opponent controls. Take control of the selected monster until the end phase of your turn. Now, since this is a quick play, we can do some relatively hilarious things with this. For example, we can steal their key synchro monster and keep it on our field until the end of our next turn, which is very, very, very evil, if you will, in terms of being able to do things. Now, beyond the 1 to 2 sightings that we have seen of Synchro Control, this has not really been something that has seen a great amount of play. It's something that one Cool Tune deck chose to play inside of its side deck for the mirror match, because it gives you the ability to steal something that the opponent has basically going into your turn, which is really funny, because you're looking at this card and you're like, why does it, you can only activate this if you have no synchros face up or in your graveyard. That is 100% the case. But going into your turn, if you're playing against Cool Tune going second, this immediately provides you an answer to anything that they've done, or you can jack your opponent's B2B. I mean, taking your opponent's B2B basically ensures that, you'll be good, or, they can force a negate on this, which can be pretty important in and of itself. So I think Synchro Control is a pretty interesting card, just to be able to, do some kind of interesting things with in terms of, deck build. Now, that brings us to Synchro Universe. This was something that popped up in a recent Ryuji list. I'm not going to lie to you. Every time I see a Zark lookalike coming into play, you always kind of got to bat your eye at it a little bit. Now, in order to make this thing, it has to be a tuner plus a non-tuner Dark Pendulum monster to make it. Technically, that's very easy to do with Ryuji. Now, with the reasoning why we're choosing to do this, it's because its name becomes Zark while on the field. Everything else that this card does, I mean, you could technically cheat out something that's up to 2 Supreme King monsters from your extra deck. You could technically do that, but the thing that they're doing is they're making this to mode change into the other Zark to get something placed into the pendulum scale, which actually this is kind of like a reverse starter for Ryuji. It basically means that, you know, we can spin on into what other secondary piece that our combo line is going to call for, and we can actually start combo. It is interesting, to say the least. I didn't have Ryuji basically trying to re-innovate Supreme King Zark of all things, but I mean, this should have been a known tech choice that, you know, should have been explored. And honestly, I like this. This really shows that, you know, in terms of innovation and where the deck building space is kind of going right now, a deck like Ryuji being able to top a national championship and is able to consistently find a way to either absorb extra hand traps, be able to make something, or, you know, just trying to find a way to get the deck a little bit more consistent. That's what we need right now in the current format for success. Which brings us to Pair Bear Scare in the Constellar deck of madness. So over the weekend, Teller Knights had a fantastic showing. We got to see that turn skipping is in fact a valuable strategy within the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we live in a time where it's consistent. But one of the lists was playing Pair Bear Scare. Now, Pair Bear Scare works very interestingly. So your opponent can reveal a Pair Bear Scare in their hand or deck. And if they do, each player gains 2,000 life points. Now, if they do not reveal, you can destroy one monster your opponent controls. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, add this card to your opponent's hand. You can only use the effect of Pair Bear Scare once per duel, and you can only activate one Pair Bear Scare per turn. So, basically, what's going to end up happening here is it's going to be a non-targeting spot removal option to be able to clear something problematic that the opponent has, because 99.9% of the time, your opponent's not going to have a Pair Bear Scare in their deck. Especially if you're playing competitively, there's no reason for this to come up. So basically, it was just being used to non-targeting handle a problem that was on the field, which is actually beautiful. This is the level of, you know, deck building that I like to see in this game, that we actually get to see, oh, hey, you know, this tech choice was able to actually ruin a certain particular matchup. And that's basically what we want to be seeing. We want to see more outcomes and more effects like this. But also, at the same time, this was used in a massively degenerate and, you know, not so fun strategy. But I mean, that's just where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right now. You know, FTKs on one side of the game, OTKs and turn skips on the other. You know, there's a lot of problems that currently need to get addressed. And we'll see how those go. And then Invoked Draco Tail has come out of the woodwork. I thought this was actually a really cool combination of things. So out of the OCG, one of the more interesting builds that I saw people trying out was the idea of, hey, what if we combined Invoked Draco Tail together and just, you know, had it work out? The new Alistair is just really great. I mean, you have a lot of different elements to use across the board with the Draco Tail cards, which just kind of floats you into some different powerhouse ideas to give you access to different things. And honestly, I think that's good. I find that to be, you know, kind of exciting. Now, we're going to be getting the new Alistair in a couple weeks, which will open up the idea to, you know, can Draco Tail find a new synergy with these additional ideas? You know, is there something cool to be had with this, or is this just something that, you know, was a couple off showing? I mean, we're pretty consistent with seeing these couple off showings. You know, they get pretty exciting, but they just kind of roll back off into obscurity after time goes on. And I think that this might be one of those, you know, genuine cases. But I think looking at the different hybrid builds that you'll be able to build with Alistair, especially like if you wanted to go with pure, I mean, you now have 6 Alistairs that you can play. I think that your deck is now more consistent than you could have ever hoped it to have been, especially in the year 2026. So I think we have some cool tech choices here. And I'm honestly really about that right now. So please, leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. And I will see your beautiful faces back here today, guys. You guys stay safe out there, all right? Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.